the lovely and gracious E-Train. We've got a kind of a different night for you. We have talked repeatedly about how, one of our goals with the show is to try to help you make better decisions, help you take better care of yourself, your family, your responsibilities, whatever. And, to that end, sometimes we talk about difficulties with food supply, medical supplies, whatever, and, offer some encouragement for people to learn more in terms of preparedness. Well, tonight we've got kind of a special treat for you in that we have a herbologist. Did I say that? Herbalist on
Jane Post.
Miss Jane Post, who is going to share with us tonight some of her interests, some of her background, her experience, some of her recipes, what just information on herbs and their benefits. And it ought to be a fascinating night. So,
and real quick, let's say, hey, Sky Ricky. Hey, Brentwood. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Clay. I see you're on there too. And of course, Jane. Is that everybody? Do we get everybody?
I think so.
Go back up. Yep, got them all. Cool. So if you have any questions, pop them up there for Jane and we'll star them and get to them as soon as we can. And here she is.
Miss Jane Post. Thank you for joining us, Jane.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Jane, and I'm an associate member of the American Herbalist Guild. I just want to say that, I'm not a licensed doctor. I don't diagnose. I don't prescribe anything. I'm just a herbalist, and I'm hoping tonight to give you really good foundational information so that when you're making that choice to move to herbalism or you want to make medicine, that you're making the right decisions and you know where to go to get that information. So first, I want to start off a little bit with the history of herbalism and what herbalism is. Hi, Melissa. Herbalism is the study and use of plants for medicinal purposes and has a very long history since, the beginning of time. Herbalism, they have found the Neanderthals in the dental plaque of the Neanderthals that they actually were able to find, like yarrow and chamomile and even poplar. Now, poplar trees have the same chemical ingredient as aspirin, salicylic acid. So they knew from the bones that this individual was sick, so that they were giving them basically aspirin to help with their sickness. So I found that pretty interesting, that they were doing that and giving them the aspirin for their sickness, and that they knew that the Neanderthals were doing that. Herbalism, they found from Mesopotamia clay tablets that had herbal remedies on it. In China, from 100 BC, where you see the traditional Chinese medicine, the TMC as they call it, came from something called the Defined Pharma Material Medica, which was actually not written. So they think it originated verbally around 100 BC.
Hear us. Are you there, Jane?
Jane, can you hear us? I think we're having a little internet problem here. Can y'all hear us?
Private chat.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
You see me? Yeah.
Can y'all hear Jane?
Yeah.
It should be in private. I see Jane, but can't hear her. Okay. Jane's frozen. Okay. Are you? We're having interwebs issues. Is she muted?
She muted herself.
Try that again. Oh,
All right.
she'll
Well,
be back.
Jane is having some of those well-known, much-loved internet problems. So she'll be with us. She's going to try to log off, log back in, and we'll try starting it up again. Already have learned something, though. Did not know poplar trees contain the same ingredients as aspirin.
Mhm.
Don't know whether it's in the bark, the wood, the leaves, or exactly how to access it, but that's kind of a
Add her
little,
back. She's back.
There
a
you
little
go.
bit of the information you're beginning.
There we
Welcome
go.
back. Much better.
Yeah, we're professionals. And Brentwood, you're right. It would not be
All right,
live
can you
without
hear
some
me?
tech issues.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm not sure what happened. I've been on the internet all day. I work from home. So
It always happens. It always happens. It is. We expect it.
And honestly, I don't know if it sometimes might be StreamYard issues with StreamYard, because like we're normally fine, but once we get on StreamYard, sometimes there is something that glitches. So anyway, glad to have you back.
All right. So where did
I think we were at the aspirin.
Yeah, you just finished talking about the Neanderthals.
So believe it or not, the Neanderthals were using, rudimentary aspirin for their sick and injured people. And it's throughout time, we know that there is documented history where different civilizations, Mesopotamia, they found clay scrolls from 1550 BC that had, details of plants and the use of plants for medicine. So this has gone on from the beginning of time. So it is not a new phenomenon. Then, this has gone on, and what really legitimized herbalism was Henry VIII, the guy with all the wives. He was actually a herbalist. And what he did is he was an advocate for the herbalist. And he passed something called the Charter of 1543, which protected the practice of herbalism. And that was a significant step forward, because to this day, this legitimizes herbalism in England. And so that it is a recognized medical modality, and then sort of the rest of Europe followed. The US and Canada, and on this side of the world, we're a little different in that I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called the Flexner Report from 1910. And the Dale Carnegie Foundation did this study to reform medical education in the United States and Canada. And it emphasized the more rigorous type of laboratory scientific, but it basically marginalized all other types of medicine, especially herbalism, and said it was trash science, that we shouldn't be using it, and that the lay people shouldn't be using it, and marginalized women and indigenous groups and African Americans in their medicine. Yet they had brought all of that stuff over. So as the cultures came and blended, the Indians are what kept the English settlers alive with their herbal medicine, because when they came, they didn't have anything. So does anybody have any questions so far, or any questions in the comments yet about sort of the history of herbalism yet?
I don't think I know.
Nope.
Sky Ricky had a comment, but I think you're going to get to that later.
Okay.
About.
All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is, and this is staggering, these statistics, more than 131 million people, that's 66% of all adults in the United States, use some form of prescription medication.
Mm-hmm.
But they have found now the rise of herbalism. So about 3 million people report using herbal remedies. The great majority of the people that use these herbal remedies tend to be women. They tend to be better educated in a higher socioeconomic group, but they also tend to be healthier than the general population. So people that are healthier tend to go more to the herbal remedies. So that all came from Georgetown Health Policy Institute. this is what blows your mind then, or at least my mind, that the NIH, the National Institute of Health, National Library of Medicine estimates that 4 billion people, so that's 80% of the world's population, rely solely on herbal medicine and only herbal medicine, versus the United States, which here we pop a pill.
We're highly over medicated. I think you've got a friend in here.
M.
Yep.
Perry.
Yes, Martha. That's my best friend.
Uh-huh. Hi, Martha.
Hi, Martha. Thanks for coming, Martha. So another thing I wanted to talk about, if you are wanting to move to herbal medicine, like there is no national certification in the United States. So that unlike other countries that have certification, some farmer in the field can call themselves an herbalist. But how do you know if somebody is legit, especially if you want to go to them, right? So there are different qualifying agencies that I think is important. And I will go ahead and drop the links in the chat so everyone can see the link to these agencies. So I am a member of the associate member of the American Herbalist Guild. So there are strict standards that you have to follow to get in. Now, if you want, I'm not a medical herbalist. There are some, they're either called clinical herbalist or registered herbalist that want to treat you or will work in a medical setting. And they would be registered with the American Herbalist Guild. We also have the American Council of Holistic Medicine, the International Association of Health Practitioners, the American Naturopathic Certification Board, and the Complementary Medical Association out of the UK. So when you're going to look for an herbalist, all of these agencies have lobbied Congress to say, hey, look, we need to have a national standard here, which Congress refuses to do. They leave it up to the states. Most states have no regulation whatsoever. So if you are going to go to an herbalist or you want good herbal advice, go to these different agencies here and look at them and look who's registered with them so that you're getting someone that you know has some kind of education or some kind of experience. So you're not getting, like I said, anyone can call themselves a herbalist. So I would be kind of leery until you kind of do your due diligence, because how do you know they're acting in your best interest? How do you know that they're giving you good advice or good medicine to do? Okay, she's gonna post them.
If you'll drop them in that private chat, she'll post them in the YouTube chat.
Okay, here we are. There we go. Okay. So
One other quick question. Melissa asked, are there agencies who work with animals?
There are herbalists. Yeah, there's different types of herbalism that you want to do, right? That will specialize in different areas. You have herbalists that just want to do mushrooms, which is not me. You have herbalists that just want to do Chinese medicine. You have herbalists that want to work with animals. And there is courses you can take for herbs for animals, because what humans would tolerate or do may or may not be toxic to an animal, and vice versa. So you want to be careful with that. There's people that just want to do marijuana, or people who just want to make the herbs, or people who just want to grow them. I tend to want to be a grower. So when I grow up, I'm just going to be an herb farmer, and then I'm going to sell herbs, or at least that's what I plan to do, is to sell herbs as my second act, I guess, in life.
Now, did you get into this because you thought that it would be helpful for you to know this in general? Was there a major what compelled you to get into this? Just real quick.
So I was really sick. I had some medical conditions, and I went to a private doctor who I kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And basically, I had another person that I was talking to and said, look, try this naturopath. What do you got to lose? At this point, I was really sick. And I actually didn't know it because I was highly anemic, that I had heavy metal poisoning from the amount of blood transfusions and iron they were giving me. It was killing me. So I go to this naturopath, and she looks at me and says, I think you have a genetic condition. I'm like, what? So she then did all of this testing and then said, look, basically I have, it's called Schwartzman-Diamond syndrome, which happens mostly when your father's been exposed to Agent Orange. It's a genetic disorder, which I have. and my liver doesn't work like other people. So taking either a little bit of medicine for me can make me very sick, or even certain types of foods that I was eating could make me sick because my liver simply can't process like normal people. So then I thought, well, I need to take care of myself because allopathic medicine was not taking care of me. In fact, she told me I was probably 6 to 12 months away from death if I had continued to do what they were saying.
Wow.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yes.
I assume, or at least what I've been told, is that most any medication that you take, like an Advil, it has to be too strong for your liver and your kidneys to filter. You have to have more of it than you can handle in order for it to work. Is that,
It depends
does that,
on each person's metabolism is different, and
uh-huh.
how your body metabolizes it, and even what you can take, because we're not all the same. So some people might need bigger doses than others. For me, like a baby aspirin is all my system can really tolerate. And I was
Gotcha.
doing a heck of a lot more than that.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. So let's talk about when someone was talking about boiling herbs. Let's talk about the different types
Mm-hmm.
of formulations you can have before we get to the plants, because this will help you, especially if you're going to, one of these doctors or one of these practitioners, or you're even going into an herbal store, or you're on Amazon looking, right? You'll know what the different things mean. So of course we have herbal teas. Everyone's heard of chamomile tea, right? Or some cinnamon tea. So that's called a tea or an infusion. It's typically when you're going to take the leaves or the tender part of the plant and you're going to dry them out, or you can use them fresh, and you're going to put them in hot water and you're going to make a tea. A decoction is where you're going to do the tougher parts. That would be bark. That would be the roots. And sometimes you can boil it. Sometimes you can't. It depends on the plant. So let's say honey is one that you could never boil because you would kill all the good stuff in honey, right? So again, it's knowing which plants that you can boil and which ones you can't. Sometimes it's just you're going to do I'll just say a nice simmer on those plants. The next is a tincture. So this would be like a tincture where you're taking alcohol and you're putting the plants in there and you're going to soak them into the alcohol. And what's good about a tincture is that this alcohol has a long shelf life. So as long as you store them, hold on, I do have a jar here. So as long as you store them in like one of these jars, this dark color, in a cool, dark place, you have a really long shelf life when you're making these tinctures here. And I started them so you all would see what they look like. They tend to be, you're going to cook, when I say cook them, but you're going to let them sit and you're going to shake them.
Not rubbing alcohol, vodka. Vodka, not rubbing alcohol.
Well, you can use other stuff. You can use any kind of alcohol. Most people use vodka, but like in this one, I used a honey brandy because I want more of a honey flavor. So it all depends on your flavoring that you're going to use.
Yeah, but she was asking, like, can you use rubbing alcohol? And that probably would not work.
No. You got to use like I tend to use a Russian vodka or an Everclear is the ones I would use. But no. Rubbing alcohol is for cleaning. You never want to ingest that, right?
I make a rosemary tincture.
There you go.
Yeah, this is a key point. It has to be drinkable.
Yes.
Yes. So the next is you can do what they call an extract, which is made with vinegar. So if you don't know, that's the mother. You can make your own vinegar, especially like if the grid goes down. Maybe you don't know how to make alcohol, but there's a million videos on how to make vinegar on the internet. It's super easy. This is from apple scraps. I made it last year. There's the mother in there. So you'll do the same thing you would do with the alcohol is you will soak the herbs in there. But it's called an extract, but it has a much shorter shelf life. So it's only going to be like a few months on that, even if you're storing it. The next is you can have pills or capsules. So they'll take the herbs and they'll put them in a capsule. Yeah, my fingers aren't working today. Okay. The benefits of doing that is that you can control dosage size versus if you're going to do it in a tincture. You can also, there's these little pellets you can get. pellets. You
How
can
do you
do
know, Jane, if what you're getting is what is on the bottle? How do you know you're getting the?
well, the WHO regulates it, maybe not so much in the US, but the WHO regulates what it is. And there is some, the FDA regulates some of it, not all of it. I mean, as far as that, that's a gray area. You really want to work with reputable dealers. That's why I was telling you, like, you want to go places that are registered. Like in America, it's the American Herbalist Guild. They'll have places that are reputable listed. And there are reputable companies that come out of Europe. Like this place is Beauiron. That is a French company.
You got to put your hand behind it, and it should.
Yeah.
There you go.
There. So this is reputable. This is a reputable company, so you can get them from these. This is a reputable company, Nature's Way. Okay, they're reputable, but again, these are all listed like on the American Herbalist Guild, so they do have some standards. But again, any Joe Schmo can put anything on it. That's why you want to really check when you're ordering these things and checking.
So you're saying like go to Walmart and grab something probably isn't the best way to get your herbs. No.
You do you, but no, I would get mine from Walmart.
People don't know. I mean, it's, you know.
People don't know.
Usually,
if it's in writing, you can look, typically a drugstore. We'll talk about that a little further down. And I'm going to talk about why it's important to talk to your doctor or pharmacist about these things, but especially the pharmacist, because pharmacists will know. The next thing is...
I've got a quick question.
Yeah, I don't know if Canada has regulations. You'll have to look. I'm not Canadian, so I don't know about Canada. Sorry. The next thing is oils. So, you got your rosemary oil. So you can definitely use like a single source. So make sure your olive oil or anything you get is a single source. So single source olive oil, you can use a single source avocado oil or a coconut oil. And you can just put like the rosemary in there and extract it for a while. So that's what I did here.
What does single source mean?
Means it all comes from one place. So typically when you get olive oil, it can be olives from all over the world. So you don't know if it's good, if it's contaminated. So always look for single source when you're looking for stuff. So this is where I was doing garlic in some single source olive oil. So I'll have a nice, but you can do, lavender. If you want to use it on your skin or oil, you can do something like that. Then there's salves or ointments. Let's see. I thought I had a salve around here. So you can do something like a salve. And this is where you're going to create an oil and then put it in beeswax. So it'll look like this. It'll usually come in a tin can. Next, you're going to hear the word poultice. So poultice is when you're going to take the herbs and you're either going to chew them up or crush them up or cut them up. And then you're going to put them on the wound. Okay. A herbal compress is similar in that you're going to make a tea basically or an infusion. And then you're going to take a clean cloth and you're going to dip it in it. And then you're going to externally apply it to the wound. You can make a cough syrup. So typically you've heard a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, right? So if you're making it for a child, you might want to make it with honey. So you might want to take the, whatever you've made and make it with honey so it's more palatable. There's also, where you're going to take an herbal soak in the tub. So you ever heard of, oatmeal? When you have a rash and they tell you to take an oatmeal bath. So you could do oatmeal and that's a herbal soak, you'll see. And then there's herbal tonics and elixirs. And you probably heard those terms before. But that's typically when an herbalist is going to combine stuff and make something just for you. So not anybody else. So what's important too is I don't want you to go out just picking plants because you can do serious harm to you. So one of the things I wanted to show you is there's these field guides. Are they showing up on camera?
Yeah.
Yep.
Pearson's makes these field guides. These are really good. with the field guides. There's also a book you can get, or there's other books. So Botany in a Day that explains plants. Now, with that being said, that's okay, but you want to be really careful because there'll be a picture in here. And you may or may not be able to identify it based on a drawing, right?
Right.
This is porkweed. I have this grown in my yard. This is toxic. One berry to 2 berries can kill a child, and 5 can take down a grown man.
Wow.
So don't just go out picking these because you see them out in the wild and thinking, oh, okay, this might be a great herb. This kind of looks like elderberry, and I'm going to try it. You could do yourself serious damage. So with that being said, what you want to look for is something called a foraging class. If you're going to go out in the wild, and what they do is called wild crafting, a lot of health food stores will do them, or sometimes herbalists will do them. Go out and do a foraging class. So, you know, when you're out there in the wild picking stuff, that an expert has showed you what it is. If you can't find a foraging class, the cooperative extensions, most universities, I'm sure Clay University in North Carolina has one. These cooperative extensions offer programs as well. Something like a master gardener class will, somebody who's a master gardener should be able to tell you those plants. If all else fails, don't pick it. Now, if you're wanting to just do herbs, like in your garden, go to a plant nursery. Don't go to Home Depot. Go to like a plant nursery, an independent plant nursery. A lot of the people that run those are either botanists or have ag degrees or have the information that's going to be able to tell you the right plants, because you never want to mess up a plant. You just don't know.
How do you feel about the apps? What do we have? Picture this? Is that what it's called?
There are apps, but remember, they'll never give you a great certainty, because
Okay.
I've actually tried it on plants that I actually knew what they were, and sometimes it doesn't come up as to what it is. And this is where I'm saying it doesn't take the place of somebody who actually knows. So whether it's a master gardener or it's another herbalist, or you've taken a foraging class, just make sure you know, because like I said, they might tell you that's elderberry and it's pokeberry, and you're gone. So,
Okay. Yeah, I got another question for you. If you're taking, I assume, if you're taking a local foraging class, that they're going to focus, of course, on what is local to that area. I know you and I talked about that previously, about how important that is to know.
correct. Always know what's in your area. So even the registered herbalist with the American Herbalist Guild, the ones that are going to practice, only are required to, they only want them to learn basically 100 and learn everything about those 100 and be proficient with 100.
Okay.
As we're going to talk further down, multiple plants have the same chemical properties. So more than likely something in your area is going to have the same as something else in another area that you can get. Which this will bring me to drug, herb, and vitamin interactions. St. John's wort, which is a wonderful, and it's an antidepressant. It's what they use in England for most parts of the world. I don't know, is it showing up? There we go.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, this is highly, highly reactive with other stuff. And so you want to be very careful when you're taking it, because even though it's a great antidepressant, it will also interact with other antidepressants, benzos, birth control, blood thinners, you name it. There's books that come out where you can look at a book.
Oh, wow.
Again, this doesn't replace a pharmacy, but you can see St. John's here, all this stuff it interacts with. So what happens is St. John's wort speeds up the metabolism. So if you have a time release capsule that's supposed to be released into your system over a 12-hour period, this St. John's wort might do it over 6. And then you have 6 hours where you're not getting the medication you need. So don't play around. Go to a pharmacist or go to your doctor if you're going to take any kind of herbs and say, what's it going to do to me? Now, in here, this book will tell you like time has no known interactions. You should be okay, but as they do more research, it could change. This book's a couple years old. But I tend to, like I said, if I'm doing something else, ask the pharmacist or ask your doctor or your naturopath, should I be taking this herb? Because even garlic will interact with anticoagulants and affect blood clotting. So if you get too much of that and you think, well, that's just in food, that's benign. No, it's not if you're on anticoagulants.
Now, how does that go with cooking even? I use a lot of herbs in cooking. Is that enough to make a difference?
It depends. Probably not if you're just doing small quantities. If you're getting higher and higher quantities in there, then yes, it definitely can react with the medication you're taking. So that was a very good question. It's good that you ask.
Because I used to just eat garlic just because it's good for you. I thought, yeah,
it is good for you. It is. It has good for your heart. But again, if you're taking it in very large quantities or you're taking it as a tablet, it can have interactions. So, it's always good to check on this stuff.
Awesome.
So now let's get to some herbs here because I know that's what y'all came here for. So I only tried to pick 20 of the most common herbs that I thought from the audience we'd all sort of have if we're in North America. So the first one I want to talk about is aloe vera. So this is what aloe vera looks like, right? It's typically grown in Mexico. You can grow them in your house too. So aloe vera, both of you probably know what aloe vera is used for. So you can get it in a jar here too. And always make sure when you're getting it, it's clear and it has nothing in it, like no dyes, no alcohol, no fragrance, no nothing. Because if you have dyes, it's not good for you. So this is kind of a brand I picked up.
So that's pure gel.
It's 97%. It does have some preservatives in it, but it's the best you can get on the market, short of if you can't get this.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Those things grow like crazy. One of my clients gave me a little piece of it, and I have put that stuff, given like little pieces of that plant to several neighbors, and now we all have all this aloe growing. It's very easy to grow.
It is very easy to grow, and it's great for external use, which most people know. So if you have a sunburn or you have skin irritations, that's usually what it's used for. Just be aware you can, in small doses, can use it internally, and you're seeing it in stores and water and stuff. But just know in large doses you will get Montezuma's revenge. So it's too much of a good thing. It's not good for you. And only the internal jelly is you can eat it. You can't really do the skin and stuff. You shouldn't do the skin when you're doing that. So I'm sure all of you or most of you have used aloe vera at some point in your life if you had a sunburn. The next I want to talk about is, hold on, get my visual aids here, is cayenne pepper. So you can have it as a tincture. You can do it as a tablet, or you can do it in here. So cayenne has something called capsaicin in it, and capsaicin is pain relieving and anti-inflammatory properties. So sometimes if you're looking at the gels or the creams that you're putting, you'll see the word capsaicin in it. That's what this is for. So it's also, capsaicin is a mild blood thinner. So you can also take this. Again, be careful because it is a mild blood thinner, but you can take that to prevent blood clots, to reduce risk of heart attack and strokes. But do not use it with ACE inhibitors because it will unblock the ACE inhibitors. So do not use it. It is a common culinary spice, so it is 100% edible. But you can use it internally or externally. So I have these growing in my garden. You can dry them out and then make it, or you can make a tincture. So super easy to get that at any plant store, anything you want. And you can grow them. And then you can make your own pills or make your own tincture or make your own powder.
I told you I was going to ask you a million questions while you were on here. I used to take cayenne, turmeric, and cinnamon and put it in the coffee grounds before I made coffee. Is that good?
Yes. I put cinnamon in my coffee every.
He's like, why would you do that to your coffee? I'm like, because it's good for you.
So cinnamon kills parasites. And a lot of us have parasites in our system. I put cinnamon in my coffee every cup that I make to fight the parasites.
And what does turmeric do?
Turmeric, I haven't used turmeric, but that is good for memory. It's good for overall your body. It's good for your immune system.
Excellent.
I don't personally use turmeric. Again, turmeric we don't really get here, so it's not something I would focus on. It's more Ayurvedic. I can't say that word today. It's been a long day.
That's all right.
again, I try to focus on, I'm thinking, okay, if the grid goes down or the supply chain goes out, what can I grow in my backyard? What can I do in my backyard? So the next is we will talk about is chamomile. So this is dried chamomile. You can get it. You can also get it in a tea. So they already put it in the tea for you. Oh, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone knows that chamomile, you know, when you can't sleep, what do they tell you to do? Drink chamomile tea. So the properties in chamomile tea promote relaxation, aid in digestion, and it does have to mildly relieve anxiety. So typically it's only used in teas. Occasionally, like maybe in culinary, they might use some of the flowers if the flowers are edible. So maybe they use it for a garnish. But really, that's the only part of the plant you really want to eat on the chamomile is just the flowers. You don't want to eat the leaves. You can kind of use them to make a tea if you want. All right, I ran out in my garden before this call. And this is a chive. It's a chive plant. We've all seen this in culinary, right? Usually chives are...
Chive? Is that
the chive?
Chive? Okay.
Yep, you can eat it. It's mostly used in as a garnish, right? It has a mild onion flavor, but it contains antioxidants and compounds that support cardiovascular health. Okay. So it also has a mild antibacterial properties to it.
Right.
So that's a chive. So eat lots of chives. They're good for you. Clay, your favorite thing that you should not be killing in your yard is the dandelion. Sorry, it kind of closed up because I did it before the meetings. 100% of the dandelion, and here's the leaves. You want to get the leaves when they're young. 100% of the dandelion is edible. Also, it tells you if you have a lot of dandelions, you don't have good soil. So the job of the dandelion, as farmers will tell you, is the dandelion goes in when there's disturbed earth or bad earth. It goes in, it puts its taproot in, it breaks the soil up, it'll decompress. And over time, the dandelions will go away on their own once they've done their job. So let them do the job.
So that's kind of like a canary in the coal mine.
Yes. Yes. It'll tell you your soil's bad. But let it do its job. In a couple of years, I promise they'll go away on their own. You can also, so you can eat the leaves. You can eat everything in the dandelion. So this is made from dandelion roots. This is a tea. And this is what my doctor told me to drink for my liver. So I will make this up like regular coffee. You can buy it in bulk, or these are ones I can take with me, or you can do it as a tea. And nice. It is great. It is a great diuretic. It's good for your liver. The leaves are rich in vitamins and minerals. And it's good to detoxify your body when the leaves are small. You can use them in salads. You'll never starve. You can also use the flowers in the salad. It's for internal. You can use it externally. Think about it. You've heard of dandelion wine. So they've used flowers for dandelion wine. So you ferment it. The leaves and roots will also be used to flavor different beers, or you can use them in your salads. People will use them in different dishes. There's dandelion bread. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do with dandelions. So please stop killing them. They're wonderful for you. Echinacea. So we've all heard about echinacea, the wonder plant, right? I don't have any echinacea in my yard, but I'm going to plant it. Actually, I do. Sorry. Echinacea is the purple cone flower. So how many people have purple cone flowers in their yard and don't know that that's echinacea? Huh. So you actually have it in your yard. I forgot Mom put it in the back. But echinacea is great. Everyone knows and they've heard about it. I guess 20 years ago, that was all the rage was echinacea. Mm-hmm. And it's boosts your immune system. And they do know that it reduces the length of a cold. So it helps you fight respiratory infections. It's a good general immune system tonic. It can be used. The only thing with this, do not use it long-term internally. It will cause digestive upset. So, for a week or two, it's okay to take it, but don't take it long-term or you'll get sick with that. It's not a food you're going to eat. So don't use it for culinary preparations. Just go ahead and only use it for like a week or two, medicine on that. The next one is feverfew. Again, I have this in my yard. And from the name, you can kind of guess what it does. It'll break a fever. So, sorry. It's kind of...
No, you're fine.
There's what feverfew looks like. There's no flowers yet. It's too early in the season, at least for here. So feverfew is known for its anti-inflammatory properties. It's also used to prevent migraines and reduce the severity. It also got its name because if you make a hot feverfew tea, it will break a fever.
Huh.
Yes, that's traditionally in the rest of the world. That's what they use to break a fever. So you'll have it in the tea. And that's how it got its name. Do not use it, though, if you're pregnant. It will stimulate uterine contractions and can go through the placenta and harm the baby. So you want to be really careful when you're taking that. And that's where I'm saying, make sure you talk to a pharmacist. Make sure you're doing your research before you take anything. So you would not use it for anything culinary. It is very bitter. If you ever try it, it's very bitter on the taste buds. But you could do it, make your own capsules or make your own tincture, which that's what this is. The little jar I showed you. This has feverfew in it and white willow, which is aspirin. So this would be like a headache tonic that I'm making here.
Nice.
That I used honey bourbon, so this will taste really good when it's...
That will taste good. What color are the feverfew flowers?
White.
White.
Mostly white. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you change your soil content, and that's where Master Gardener comes in, if you're changing your soil content, you can actually, in some flowers, influence the color of the flowers.
I've heard about that with hydrangeas.
Mm-hmm.
That depending upon the pH of the soil or whatever, whether they're blue or purple or pink or white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Garlic. So I have some garlic here. So we kind of touched on garlic already.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that we should know that garlic contains allicin. It's a compound that is antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. And they are, science can tell you that this will lower your cholesterol in your body. It's good. It'll lower your blood pressure and it protects your heart. So typically, though, before you're going to use it, chop it up and let it sit for a little bit so that the compounds in there can develop. It needs a little air time. It needs to breathe a little bit before you use it. So you can use it internally, externally, and of course, it's a culinary herb. So you can eat this as well. So if you haven't seen garlic before, or you can get a garlic in the store.
Is that a paste?
That's a paste, or you can make your own, like I showed you earlier. You can make your own oil.
Mm-hmm.
So the benefits, if you're making your own oil here, just add it to your salad. You can cook with it, and then you're getting the nice properties of that. Okay.
Wood. My favorite wood. Listen, I used to just eat the cloves. I don't think it, but it just comes out of my skin, my pores when, some people just sweat it out, and that was me. And I was like, I probably don't smell so good.
So you ever wonder when you go and they put parsley on the side of your dish, or the little cloves of parsley? If you eat that is put there for a reason. I went to culinary school. That's from my first career. That is to cut the taste, to cut and clean your palate, so that if you're doing that, do a parsley chaser, kind of clean.
There you go. Perfect.
The next is lavender. So I'm sorry, the lavender isn't in bloom yet, but the whole front of my house is all different types of lavender plants. That's what lavender looks like. It's the purple flowers. Or you're going to have an oil, right? You're going to have an essential oil.
Yep.
And lavender is known to have calming and relaxing effects. So it's mostly used in aromatherapy, right? For stress and anxiety. So if you have a little stress, put a little on, or you can make a lavender tea. So it can be used internally or externally. It's great to ward off mosquitoes and insects. If you carry a little bit of oil around and you get stung or you get bit, you can put it on there too. But it is mostly a repellent. So if you put it on beforehand, it'll keep the mosquitoes away.
Good to know. We have lots of those down here.
Oh yeah, that's why the whole front of my house is lavender. So my house is all the plants all around. So it smells really great out there. And I live on top of a hill, and it's very windy. Anyone that's been to my house can tell you. But so then in the summer, when the wind is really picking up and blowing, all the lavender just kind of blows through my house when I open the windows.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
I put my laundry out on a line and just let the lavender, dry it naturally.
Yes, it is, Melissa. You can use it for other things as well. So next is lemon balm. It is part of the mint family, so it has a lot of the similar properties to a mint leaf, which I'll show you in a little bit. And this has very calming and anti-anxiety properties as well. So you see this in a lot of the herbs, right? We know St. John's has it. We know that lemon balm has it. There's also, you can take for calming anxiety, ashwagandha works too. But that's typically grown in India or, over that side of the world. So this is lemon balm. And again, this is for stress, anxiety. It improves your digestion, just like mint, because it is part of the mint family. If you chew on it, you'll get a nice lemony flavor, but it will also relieve indigestion, or if you have a bellyache, you can use that. Sometimes, so when you're cooking, they'll use this to flavor teas, or they'll use this to flavor desserts. So you can use it internally or externally as well. All right. That's lemon balm. So next is mint.
Oh, I'm having a chunk issue. Hang on one second. I'll be right back. Y'all go ahead.
This is mint. You can see, and it smells really good. I just picked it. Be careful though. Mint's an invasive species. It'll take over. Now I do have a mint garden and I let it loose. But you can use mint, and we've all probably used mint before. It's known because it's cooling. It's refreshing. It'll soothe digestion, relieve headaches. It'll improve your respiratory if you smell it. You're going to see it in aromatherapy, often used in aromatherapy. You're going to see where they make mint teas. So you can have a mint tea if you want a mint tea. And it's going to be used in culinary dishes. So this is super easy. Unless you want it to take over your yard, though, put it in a planter. I have about 10 or 15 varieties growing up in the back of my property, and I just let it loose. But here you go. The next thing is oregano. Am I missing any questions? Okay, it's kind of oregano. Oregano is great because it's a very strong antibacterial and antifungal properties. It also is good for inflammation. And the one thing that they have found about oregano is that there's organic compounds in there that fight tumors. And they're actually using it in creating tumor medication. And they found that it can slow the growth and production of not only tumors, but cancer cells. So that is another good use for oregano. Okay, here's another weed that you're going to find in your yard. It looks like this. And this is called Plantago major or plantain. And this is going to go where you have the crappiest soil, or it's going to be along the driveway or along the side of the road that this grows. And it typically also has seeds that'll grow up in here, but the seeds are kind of past here now. But if you're out in the yard and you get bitten or you get cut, chew this up. And this is where you're going to create a poultice, and you're going to put this on your skin. These are also edible. So when you get the really small baby leaves, you can go ahead and add these to a salad. You can also cook it. So you won't starve if you have these and you have dandelions. You can make a great salad with it. But typically it's used for insect bites, cuts, skin irritations. If you eat too much, though, it is a mild laxative. So just be careful that you're just doing the baby leaves and you're not eating too much of this weed, as they call it. But I bet you all of you, if you went out and you went looking for it, you could find it really easily. It grows in all of North America and Canada. Okay. Here's another one that I want to talk about is rosemary. I'm sure you all know what rosemary looks like. It smells great. I'm my fan on. So this rosemary enhances memory and cognitive function. So make sure you're using this, whether you want to put it in an oil and steep it in the oil for a little bit, or you're adding it to your food. It has, again, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. It's also, if you have halitosis, it's great to treat halitosis. It'll kill the bacteria that causes halitosis. So you just want to create a mild tea with this and then go ahead and gargle, and it'll take your bad breath away. You'll find it a lot in, Mediterranean cooking and Mediterranean dishes. A lot of people, really easy. I have this growing on my windowsill. Cut it from the plant on my windowsill. So go ahead. And also, if you're sick, oh, there you go. If you're sick, right, and you hear chicken noodle soup, right, put this in when you're making your bone broth. So you're getting all those great properties in your bone broth for this. Sage. Where's my sage plant? Okay. Cut a big one so you can see it's actually starting to flower. So this is sage. You can probably recognize the smell. Most of you can recognize the smell in the leaf of this. Right? This is another one that's going to improve your memory and cognitive function, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory properties, right? If you also have a sore throat, this is another good one. You can make tea, or you can make a tincture with it. And this is going to help with your sore throats. So if you have sore throats, go ahead and use these. So that was sage.
Sage. Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. So we're back to the.
Chuck, go on.
We're back. We'll go back to St. John's wort again. I do grow this in my yard. The flowers, it's named St. John because the flowers will usually bloom around June 24th, which is the birthday of St. John. So that's how I got St. John's wort. But I have that in my yard. So it's a very good antidepressant. Like I said, this is what they use in England typically for antidepressants beforehand. It's great if you have mild anxiety. So just keep that around. You wouldn't use it for culinary uses. Again, you're only going to use it internally. Some people do make a topical for that if they want to put it on their skin to kind of treat various medical conditions. A lot of these plants will have antibacterial and antioxidants and that type of stuff in there, anti-inflammatories. So this is another one. But if you don't have this, you can take ashwagandha too.
Sky Ricky's got a question for you.
Sure.
Is there a certain brand of spices and tea that is better that you would recommend?
The brand? I would typically, McCormick's has the best brand. It's what you're going to get is McCormick's. I think that's what I showed you. Is one of the brands you're going to get. Look for organic, USDA if you can. A lot of these, though, are super easy to grow. You can buy the plants at Walmart and put them in. They'll grow year after year if you just put them out. Or you can grow them on your window. So it's super easy to do. But if I'm going to pick a plant, if I'm going to pick a brand, I'm going to either go to McCormick's Organics, if you can afford it, or look for another organic brand. This is usually a good brand. Like, Nature's Promise is usually a good brand too.
Yeah, we use that a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How about for teas?
Typically, if I'm going to do a tea, I might do a Bigelow's because this is a British brand. Mm-hmm. I tend to pick, or Twinings, I'll tend to pick something that's in England because they're regulated. You'll see on there the regulations here on the back.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you can't get those, then pick an organic tea like here again. These are good brands. These are organic. This is like the organic teas. Or this is their own brand, but they are known. This is for the dandelions.
Okay.
The coffee. This is the only one that makes the coffee. I will tell you, like I get it at the Amish store because we have Amish stores here. They sell this in bulk. You can also get it, because I know you know how much we are. You get it on Amazon too. So that's my thing on that.
Yeah, Melissa Brits do their teas, that is for sure.
Mhm.
And
So
thank you, Jane from Sky Ricky.
you're welcome. Okay, this is thyme, which we all know thyme. Again, I grow this on my windowsill. So thyme is also antibacterial and antifungal properties, right? You can go ahead and make a mouthwash with this. So go ahead and make a mouthwash, and you can, it's antiseptic, so it'll help prevent, cavities, and it'll clean out and treat the gingivitis in there, right? And you're good to go if you add this along with the rosemary, and then you'll clean your mouth out and you'll take care of the halitosis, your bad breath.
Good to know.
It is. Yarrow. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't cut a yarrow. I didn't cut a yarrow. Sorry. So yarrow is a plant. It's a white flower, and it is it's a great astringent. So if you cut yourself, which I do a lot, it quickly stops bleeding because it contracts the blood vessels. With that being said, you have to make sure you clean the wound really good, because it will bind to the dirt and infectious materials while it's clotting it, and then you can get a worse infection. So if you're going to use yarrow, you have to make sure it's really clean. So let it bleed a little bit to get some of that out, and then wash it out good with soap, and then go ahead and put the yarrow and then wrap it with a cloth. So that is really good too.
Now, Jane, I know you know Carson. You see him on the chats all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's here.
Yes.
Yarrow also has pain-killing properties.
A lot of the herbs will. A lot of the herbs and barks and things will have pain-killing properties. Remember, they're all kind of sharing these different compounds in there and different components. So let's talk about aspirin. So I got a little thing of aspirin here. Just generic aspirin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, aspirin actually comes from many plants. Like we talk about, the Neanderthals had poplar in it, right? White willow was in the US, and meadowsweet in England have salicin in it, and that was the precursor to aspirin, right? So they're known for their pain relieving and anti-inflammatory properties. They're also used to treat headaches, joint pain, aspirin. So what aspirin is. So what they did is they took the acid, the properties from these two plants, and then subsequently they discovered more plants had it. And that's what Bayer used to create aspirin, but they synthesized what was in these to create the aspirin. So if you're in the US, also, if you're out in your backyard and you see these lovely little purple, sometimes they're white little flowers here, right? These are these wild violets.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what the leaves look like. These also have the same components that aspirin has. So these are good. You can put them on your salad. Both leaves and the flowers are edible. They're used for garnish, but they also have salicin in it. So these also have the same properties that you would put in aspirin. You find it fascinating. This is why you learn the plants in your area, because white willow you can use internally, right? You're going to use it externally. Externally, you can create a compress for it. You're not going to eat it though; it's not really edible. Meadowsweet, which again grows in Europe, it doesn't really grow here in the U.S. Same thing. You can crush it up. You can create a tincture with it. You use it internally or externally. In England, it is edible. They do use it as flavoring. These little violets here, the same thing. They'll give you respiratory support. You can use them internally or externally. And of course, the whole plant is edible, so you won't starve if you have these plants. You can eat the leaves too. Just do them when they're young.
Well, now on the willow bark, can you make a tincture out of it?
Yes.
For the pain killing benefits? That's how you would use it?
You can. That's in here. What it looks like is, here's what it looks like. So when you get it, here's the bag. It's just the bar. You can smoke it too. So if you want to make a pain relieving cigarette, you can mix it with raspberry leaves. That's a burn regulator, which I've grown in my backyard. You can put the white willow in it.
Was it? There was some kind of wild something that grows. I know around here, wild something that they were saying that it's almost like what's that stuff that they give you in the hospital if you're in a lot of pain?
Vicodin.
Morphine.
Vicodin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the dirty little secret of pharma, since I did work in pharma before, is that they use plants. So they herbalists. So typically people that are botanists or phytomedicines got their PhD will work in labs, and they analyze plants for its chemical compounds, and then they figure out what it is, and then they are able to synthetically make it. So what caused the opioid crisis was, of course, opioid comes from poppies. They already knew opium was highly addictive. And then what did they do? They juiced it up and then gave it to people. So that's where opioids originally came from, poppies.
And now we get fentanyl, and now we get all the awful things going on.
So most plants have, again, medicinal properties. Now, again, some are poisonous to us and some aren't. So you have to be careful with the poisonous ones. But for the most part, the majority of plants are edible, and in some level, or some parts of the plant are edible. But again, pharma's taking those plants and trying to figure out which compounds are in them so they can extract it.
Sky Ricky wants to know if anyone wants to come over for a dandelion violet wild mushroom salad.
There you go. Depends on the mushrooms. I will say my great grandmother did harvest mushrooms. She's a mushroom expert, and even she got one wrong and she poisoned the whole family. But it was a really small dose, so it didn't kill anybody. Which is why, Clay, I don't do mushrooms. After my grandmother told me that story, I was like, I'm done.
No, not doing it.
Peace out.
Yeah, no kidding. And Carson's got a question about the willow.
Uh-huh.
Is it ASA? Can't remember for sure, but I know it's the same stuff as in willow.
I don't know what ASA is.
I don't either.
Sorry, Carson. I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone wants to come for a salad. All right, we're coming to Canada.
You can come to Canada or where you are. So a lot of things, people will starve and they have this whole edible forest in their backyard and they're letting themselves starve, which I think is horrible that, you're sitting there starving when you have a food forest in your backyard of plants and you have medicine in your backyard, right? You just have to learn how to harness them and learn how to use those plants, right? And if you're using them every day, like you said, you're putting cinnamon. I put cinnamon every day in my food because I know that it fights parasites. And a lot of us, I think I read, and don't quote me on this, but I know there's a study on it, that 60 to 80% of all Americans have some sort of parasite.
They do. Body. They do. And people get freaked out about that.
Mm-hmm. The cinnamon is here in my coffee right now.
There you go.
So what other questions do you have? I know I only wanted to do about 20 herbs because I was telling Ellen before, when I first started, I was getting just overwhelmed. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. And then I did have a registered herbalist tell me, like, Jane, you only need to know 100. So just learn 1 or 2 a month. And in a couple of years, you'll have all the herbs, but just learn what's in your area. Only use what's in your area or what you can grow, because multiple, like I showed you, meadowsweet grows in Europe and white willow grows here. And, we all have these little violet plants. We found out that poplar trees have the same compounds as aspirin. So start learning what's in your area and what you can use.
All right. Brentwood wants to know, is there anything good for blood sugar?
Blood sugar. Well, don't eat sugar.
Don't eat sugar cane.
There's a plant you can grow called stevia. It is about, I think they said, at least 100 times sweeter than sugar, and switch to stevia or monk fruit. Cinnamon has been known to regulate your blood sugar as well. So you can try some cinnamon.
Excellent. All right.
Carson said that ASA is acetyl salicylic acid.
Yes, that is what's in there. Yeah. But it's just the acylic acid is in there. They juice it up when they're putting it in aspirin and things. So it's synthetic.
So just the salicin is much better for you than the whole compound.
Well, if you're doing an aspirin, aspirin it's not good for your belly. You can get ulcers and things like that.
Mhm.
Where you're doing something natural. So this is what my doctor told me to switch to. So this is what I keep in the house and use because I can't do the aspirin anymore. Is use this. I won't have the other problems that I would have with the synthetic. Because if you look at the back of an aspirin jar, look at everything that's in it versus this is just willow bark.
Right.
So there's the difference. Yes.
Excellent. Let's see. Scott says she's seen a few murder trials from mushroom poisoning.
I could give you a few of those berries in my backyard. You can put them in with the blueberries. So traditionally, pokeweed, it was used to make ink. Back in the day, they used it to make ink and dye clothes. And there is a lot of kids every year that die from that. Just eating it because they don't know what it is. Or you can use it to kill somebody. I'm not going to do that. I'm not saying that you should do that. But think about it. You could put it in with some blueberries or some raspberries, and who would know? Don't do it though. Don't do it.
Then.
You could smoke some of these too. So if you want medicinal, and that's one thing I've started studying is like different things you can smoke and medicinally do them, or even like in inhalation where you put them over a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put mint or mint oils if you're stuffed up, and then do the steam with the towel over your head. You can do that as well. So I did learn last week that if you want to make an antibiotic cigarette, red raspberry, which grows wild most places, is a great when it's dry will regulate how fast the cigarette burns. So you would start with that. Yeah. And I'm like, I have a gold mine. The world comes to an end. I have a gold mine. I have it all here. My brother has 2 acres of that stuff.
Oh, wow.
So you can do that and dry. Yeah, natural. He just lets it go. So you dry that out, and you can add lavender to that. So lavender is very good. So you can put a little lavender in there and roll that up. And
smoke on it.
There's other ones that will make you hallucinate, but I will not tell you here. You can discover that on your own.
No, I've heard they've been, I think I mentioned this to you earlier. They've been using that in trauma therapy. The little hallucinogenic mushrooms or whatever,
or reishi. I know reishi's all the rage right now because it is just good for you. It just like the echinacea. It's very good for immune system. It's also good for your memory and your brain. So there are, like I said, people that do mushrooms. I think it's called, there's a name for it. Hold on, I wrote it down so I could give you the right name for it. So if you're an herbalist that's going to study mushrooms, it's called it's spelled mycology. Mycology is the people that study, because it's a fungus, it's not a plant. So you have to get people that study funguses. I'm not going to study a fungus.
Yeah, I thought, mushrooms, might be cool to understand a little bit about them. So ordered a book on them. Damn book's like that thick, and it's got 4 or 5 different mushrooms on each page.
Yeah. And again, I showed you with the picture, you don't always know. My grandmother was a mushroom expert, and she still got one that was wrong.
I love the title, Mushrooms Demystified. And it's like a Dostoevsky novel. And it's just got, I don't know if it's too much glare, but it's got, 4, 5, 6 mushrooms on each page. And it's like,
No.
No,
thanks.
And the print is small.
Oh, yeah.
It's very detailed. So I'm like, I may not become a mushroom expert.
You don't want to take the chance because there's more ones that are toxic than not. And like I said, my grandmother had been doing it. She was in her 70s, so she had been doing it her whole life and got just one wrong mushroom and poisoned the whole family. So that is why. I saw about the lilies of the valley. That is what's called a restricted herb. So you want to be really careful with those and very small quantities with lilies of the valley if you're taking it, which is why it was in Breaking Bad. Yes.
Yeah. I saw a guy, he built kind of a log pyramid, kind of older wood, not really rotten yet, but older wood. And then he drilled holes in it and he bought little like wooden plugs filled with mushroom spores.
Correct.
Kind of like wood pellets, and he'd just hammer them in the holes in the log. And then in a year, 2 years, he's got kind of a mushroom farm, but he knows exactly the type of shrooms that are growing. So anybody interested in shrooms, that may be a possibility.
You can do that. They're called mushroom lugs. You can definitely get those. Those of us in the country, they love horse manure. So when you put the horse manure out in the field, as it ages or breaks down, you'll see all these mushrooms growing them. I also do straw bale gardening. So that's how you know the bale is ready when mushrooms start growing on it, that it's the nitrogen starting to break down the bales. You'll see it, but I still won't eat those mushrooms. I don't trust them.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. And Clay and I this is probably the past year's worth of books that we purchased. Forager's Harvest, Edible Wild Plants.
Which some of these I covered would be in there.
Yeah, Field Guide to Edible Wild Plants. Then we've got The Lost Superfoods. We haven't opened this one yet. We probably got that a month or two ago.
It's a good book. I have that, yeah.
And then The Lost Ways.
I have that too.
Do you? They're great books. Yeah, because I think it's going to be very important to figure all this stuff out.
It's fun learning. I mean, obviously I'm in education and
oh, there you go.
And I value it greatly, but to me, it's just an interesting topic. It's an interesting area and one that I think can have benefits, perhaps significant benefits going forward.
So this guy is the expert, Risho, and his books. He has a website, Strictly Medicinal. You can buy a lot of the medicinal plants. And he has his books, and he will answer emails if you send him emails. So he has this one. This is how to make it, and he tells you how to make a lot of stuff in here. And he also has 2 books. He just came out with his volume 2. And these are the different plants.
Nice.
Order them from his website, Strictly Medicinal. I do not get paid, but these are really good. They'll tell you how to grow them. He'll tell you all the information you ever need. He is one of the experts in the field. And when people ask you, he is the expert.
Nice.
Another one is Rosemary Gladstar. You'll see her name. She is also an expert in the field. But these are the ones. So these are what I use. And I order plants from him. So I have plants sent so that I know they're quality plants from him. So these are good books to get too. I mean, I probably have a lot of books. I have thousands of them probably. One of them you want to look at is Culpeper. He is one of the experts. Now, the book was written in the 1600s. Let me read.
Oh, wow.
It is still the standard is what they use in England. Hold on. I made notes on all this stuff in case you all ask me. Here it is. Here is the book. And you can still get it for free because obviously it's out of print. His name was Nicholas Culpeper, and he wrote The Complete Herbalist in 1653. I'll go ahead and put the link. There's 2 of them that are people still use them today. I put them in the private chat if you want to post some of the links. A lot of these older books will be free. So if you go on Project Gutenberg, you can get the older text A lot of the things that they discovered, so there was the Ebers papyrus that they found in Egypt. A lot of that stuff is still valid on the different cures that they found. We might not be able to get some of the plants here, though.
All right, there's the link, I think.
Yeah, Gutenberg.
Yeah, and I'll go back through here and put all these in the description at the end of this, all the sites that you've.
I'll send you my notes, Ellen. I'll email my
Okay.
notes over to Clay, and it has all the links to the statistics and everything in there.
Perfect.
So you'll have all that and you can post it. Now, if anyone has, on the replay crew has questions, go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll go back and check and try to answer them for you.
Perfect. And let's see. Brentwood says she's got a long family history of bad pancreases. What is good for a pancreas?
That I don't know. I'm not a clinical herbalist. So that's where you want to look for clinical herbalists. I wouldn't be able to do the medical. I know some of the plants and the ones that I'm focusing on. So go to, I put the links up there. Mm-hmm. You want to go to the American Herbalist Guild and look for a clinical herbalist. It'll say registered herbalist RH in the initials, and you can go meet with them. If you can't find one of those, you can go to a naturopathic doctor. They have a lot of this training as well. You want to make sure, though, they've gone to one of the schools.
Reputable.
Not all are equal. We'll just say that, right? So you want to go to the one that has like a medical school. So there's one in Bridgeport, Connecticut, one in Oregon. I can't think off the top of my head. When I think of it, I'll put it in the description of the schools. But you want to make sure that and not all states have where they could be board certified, but there are states that are. So you want to make sure if you are going to one of those doctors, regardless of what state you're in, that they are board certified. So Connecticut is a state. I know New Mexico is a state. California is a state. Oregon and Washington, I know they all have board certified naturopaths. So make sure they have some kind of a board certification before you go to them.
Good advice.
Again, people can call themselves that, just like they can call themselves herbalists. So make sure you're getting, that's what I'm saying. Make sure you're safe and you're going to one of the agencies. I've listed the links there. I'm giving them to Ellen. Make sure you're checking those sites before you go there, because that is another one I found where people will just call themselves that. I'm like, really? And then I start digging. I'm like, no, you're not. I have over 1,000 hours of training in herbs and growing up too. So even before I did the formal education, I grew up on a farm. My mother, was a master gardener. So we had the plants, we learned the plants, we used the plants. I have Amish settlement right behind my house. The Amish are very much into herbs. They have their own magazine that I get from the Plain community. Nice. And they use herbs a lot. So you'll see in their advertisements, that's what they'll use. So here's one where they're trying to get you to buy it or sell it. So throughout this book, this is great. If you want a homestead or something, go in here because you can get all the Amish products where they use like batteries. So one thing they told me when I moved here was pick a battery brand. So whatever one you want, Makita, Milwaukee. I tend to use Ryobi because the batteries are interchangeable. And then this is actually what I have running is my Ryobi fan. But you can use the batteries because each Amish settlement is different. So it's whoever founded the settlement sets the rules. So some allow for solar. Some will allow for gas, so they can have gas lights, a gas stove. Think of the RV. Some allow for none of that. So it all depends, even what their buggies are, or if they're allowed to drive a car, or what they're allowed to do. Some of them are allowed to have phones, but it would be in a phone shed. Some of them have cell phones now, which just blows me away.
No kidding.
They never did. So again, each sect is different on how the sect is, but typically this book, again, I'll tell you, Plain Communities, these are all the products that the Amish either make or sell. And it has great articles in there. And being what they call us the English world, some of the articles are hilarious of how, like, one of them was if your family member isn't basically conforming, how to get them to conform, or they're not meeting up to your expectations.
Clay, you can't get that book.
What was that? I didn't catch it.
Tells you how to, if your family member is not conforming, how to get them to conform,
Oh, geez.
how to
There's
behave.
different,
You know.
it's a different, it's, from their perspective, the
Take
anti-balance.
my money.
They do talk about in here, they do talk about finance. So they might do a finance section and we'll talk about what a P&L is on a basic level, what that is, or every edition is different. So you have to look in when it comes every month. And I enjoy reading them and seeing the stuff they have. I found out you can run a wash machine on two Milwaukee batteries. I'm like, damn, I should have knew that before I bought my wash machine.
Wow.
Where I live, the power is iffy on a good day. So it goes out once or twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week.
Oh, geez.
Here. So, yeah, I'm in the country. So I think they're siphoning my electricity for other people. I don't know. Typically the internet works pretty well though. Maybe tonight. But yeah, now that I got Comcast in line, my internet works great even when the power goes out.
That helps.
They gave me 3 months for free because it kept going out and I worked from home and I lost my mind because I couldn't submit payroll. And I'm like, oh no.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. 3 months. 3 months for free. And now all of a sudden it's back to working again. Great. They told me they're upgrading the line. So they typically do that during the day when no one's home except I'm home. Has anyone accused you of being a witch? Actually, my family are water witches, so but I consider myself a white witch, yes. But I have not melted in the rain, so we're good.
Jane the Good Witch.
My grandfather was a dowser, so they were considered witches and stuff, which dowsing is wild. It is, if you haven't seen a video or seen dowsing, that is pretty wild. I do have the rods. I haven't dowsed in a while, but I do have the rods here.
Oh, wow. Your grandfather's rods?
No, I don't know what happened to that. I think my cousin got those. I have my own rods, but I do have rods, and you can't fake it. It just does it. It is the strangest thing. I remember when my grandfather took us out to douse, and they'll be swinging, and all of a sudden they'll just turn in, and you can't unturn them, and that's where the water is. It's simply amazing. We are all actually, the way he kind of described it to me is we're all electrical beings.
Yep.
And so we are, and I do believe in grounding, and I have a grounding mat. We are all charged, and when you touch the earth, it neutralizes yourself. You neutralize. So the rubber soles are the worst thing that were ever invented for us, because up until recently, people had leather soles. So going out into the grass, or even touching and working in the earth, and you feel better, it's because we are symbiotically connected to the earth. And so this is why, people can douse if you allow the energy to go through you. I mean,
Clay asked me a few months ago, he said, Ellen, I read this thing about it's better to walk barefoot on ground. I said, always walk barefoot.
Order, like I have these slippers on. You can order them. I wear slippers all the time, but this is a leather slipper and you can wear it. So whenever I'm kind of getting the arthritic aches and pains, I'll wear them around, and I'll wear them outside, or I'll take my shoes off outside. It does help. And even sleeping, I kind of thought it was voodoo magic, but sleeping with the grounding mat, my doctor told me to get it. I'm like, okay. And I got to call. Yeah, it does work.
Mm-hmm.
When she had told me I was allergic to chicken, and I thought she was full of BS because I had all these rashes, and I stopped the chicken and it all went away. And then I was like, oh, she got lucky, right? This naturopath got lucky. So I ate a piece of chicken and this whole side of my face swelled up. I'm like, okay, she was right. I'm not going to eat chicken anymore.
I believe you. Okay, Sky Ricky, you're bewitched like the show and look like the actress.
Oh, thank you.
That's sweet.
That is nice. Thank you. But I can't wiggle my nose.
I can't either. Or my ears.
Who was it? Tabitha would go like this.
Yeah, that's what I have to
Yeah.
do.
The little baby.
I do have the best nose in my family. So that's a joke in my family because they all have big, thin, but honking noses. I'm like, oh, no, no, no. Jesus gave me a nice nose, nice genetics.
See, I think it must be a finance thing. Turn.
Yeah.
He has this tiny little nose. It's just this perfect
Hey,
little.
I love my little nose. So yeah, when I fell, I always protect my nose. I don't want my nose to break. The kitchen witches, yes, a lot of people, there are books where they talk about, I have them over there, but there's a book called Foods That Heal. That's an older book. Go to like bookstores. Where did I get my grounding mat? I got it from Amazon. I don't remember the name, the doctor told me, but I was able to find it on Amazon. It was expensive though. I have a full size, and so I think it was like $300. So when you look on Amazon, if it's cheaper, it's probably not a quality one.
Yeah, they need a conducting wire through them, which probably is copper, and that's a lot of copper to run at the length of the mat, and then enough outside to. I assume it has a wire that runs out your window.
No, it runs into the plug, the grounding plug.
The grounding plug.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. It works. I stopped doubting her a while ago when she figured all this stuff out. I mean, I had been going for 50 years to doctors and they didn't know. And like I said, when she walked in the door, she immediately knew I had a genetic abnormality. And I was like, how do you know? She's like, your legs are shorter than your body. You didn't know that. No doctor ever told you. No one tested. And I'm like, no. I mean, it was just freaky, all the stuff she knew.
That's wild.
Interesting.
I am a genetic anomaly. I found that out too. So, we have 26 pairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both my parents gave 100 recessive on both sides. She said, do not commit a crime. They will find you in less than a nanosecond. To just think of astronomical to get recessive on all of your base pairs. It doesn't happen. It's really rare.
That is wild.
So either being all dominant or recessive, it's the same boat. But she told me, when you're like that finite, don't commit a crime. They have my DNA now. So the FBI will find me like this.
You're the only one.
It's like one in a gazillion or something. I forget the number she told me, but I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, really.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? Who knows that stuff? But
you're a special good witch.
I am a witch. Yes, I'm a special witch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if some people think I'm a nice witch at work, but
well, that's their problem. We love you. So
today I was a nice witch today at work. I was giving out spiffs to people. So everyone was really happy with me today.
Good to have those days.
Yeah, I was giving that out. So people were really happy with me today. Not every day.
Good.
Most days they don't like me because I have to say no, but that's the nature of it.
That's how it works. Anybody else have any questions at all? Throw them out there. We want to hear them.
If you could only have 5 herbs, what would be your top 5?
I would have white willow, feverfew, garlic, lavender, and thyme.
Feverfew, garlic, lavender, thyme.
Feverfew.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could break a fever. And white willow, I could treat all my aches and pains, right? Thyme is good for your memory. I could create a mouthwash with it. Garlic's good for my heart.
I like it.
Lavender, again, relaxing, antidepressant. The smell is good. You could make a massage oil with it if you needed to. Antidepressant. So they have all the properties. All of which are in my yard. So yes.
That's awesome.
How long ago did you start studying herbs?
I've been around them my whole life. And also I went to Johnson & Wales originally. So I don't know if you've all heard of that school. Johnson & Wales is a pretty famous school.
Mm-hmm.
John Mueller, the former executive chef at the White House, went there. So he lives over in Lancaster. So I had that, but I grew up on a farm. So we had a over an acre garden. The first couple years of my life, we lived in a one-room cabin, no running water, no electricity. When my father got out of the Army, he had PTSD, which they didn't call it at that time. That he had been injured and spent a year in Walter Reed. So when he came home, he didn't want to live in the city. So they bought this cabin. So we lived there for the first 7 years. We grew all of our own food. We had to harvest rainwater. We'd use an outhouse. And then we bought the farm, which was like the movie The Money Pit, but at least it had an indoor toilet and we were okay with that. So my mom had a massive herb garden, which was about a half-acre herb garden. And we had about an acre garden of food. And then we had horses, we had a pond, we had chickens. So I've been around herbs and herbal medicine. And like I said, my grandparents, when they came from the Czech Republic, were a dowser and a mushroom harvester. So we had always been around them. We've always used them medicinally. Hot toddies, you've heard of those.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole life. But actually studying, I studied them in culinary school. But medicinally, on and off, but seriously since like 2019, 2020, when I started seeing the natural path. But prior to that, I had just that, family knowledge, that history that you pass down from one generation to another. And living in a rural community, we had a country doctor who would very rarely prescribe medicine. He would give us herbs, and having the Amish community right here with all that available. So it's definitely generational knowledge that I have, as well as, educational knowledge, like book learning, I call it.
How do you like living around the Amish? Of course, this is a public broadcast, so.
I like the Amish. People will tell you I have, I go to the Amish stores. Growing up around them, I understand and respect them. I'm also a judge of elections in this area, so we do Amish vote too. And having them as neighbors, they're very good neighbors. They wouldn't necessarily be friends with the English, but they would consider you acquaintance, right? They might call you to drive a car. I do shop in their stores and have them make stuff for me. I rely on a lot of this stuff, but I have been able to teach the Amish how to solar cook. So I'm in Lake Flint, and they did like my tiny house too. Because they wanted to know about my tiny house. So I do being off grid and living off grid and not having the stability that most people would have in this city. I like to solar cook. So I have tons of different solar ovens, and I've tested the solar ovens. I do love them. So and one thing, I just moved to this house a year ago, but I am going to set up a solar kitchen so I can start doing that again. So it's always good to have redundancy in cooking, or redundancy, so I can run my house. Like if the grid went down, oh well, I would be fine here.
I've heard that with water collection as well, that you should have more than one way to get water if everything goes to hell in a handbasket overnight. And if you do want to go off grid, you should have, a spring if you can, and rainwater collection, and, a pond, whatever.
Yeah,
dig
I have four huge rain barrels full of water out there. So if my power goes out, because it's my garage I'm pointing to. The garage is higher than the house. It's a separate building. Mm-hmm. So I store 4 things. I filled them up and run a hose down so I can flush my toilet, because I still have a cesspit system. So I'm not, and it's gravity fed. So I don't have to worry about it backing up when the power goes out. All my lights are USB rechargeable. I have a solar generator. I have a big boy generator out there. I have little generators. So
you're good.
My power goes out 2-3 times a week. I have a propane stove. So I like to cook. My family, we like to cook with gas. So we have a propane tank that feeds our stove, and I have a grill out there. So these are things, if you're going to be self-reliant, thinking about if something happens, bad happens, right? Like you see after your tornadoes, how long does it take? 2, 3, 4 weeks. So one of the things, like here, when I moved into this house, I talked to the the old guy down the street who's in his 90s. And I said, how long do I need to prepare for? How long has the power been out? And he told me 4 days. So I can go 4 days. And I probably, honestly, I figured, okay, but if we had something really bad, I could go at least 4 to 6 weeks and not even have a blip on my radar as far as feel like I would be missing anything.
That's impressive. That is impressive.
I mean, look at the Amish right there. So
True.
And the worst case scenario is I go in my tiny home, which, yes, the Amish made the furniture in my tiny home because it had to be custom. So I bought a tiny home when I was living on my sister's farm. I traveled all the time, so I would use it as my office. But my tiny home is 8 by 16. It's totally self-sufficient. If something happened, I could live in there indefinitely. It only really takes 2 candles to heat it. Super tiny. I could solar cook, or I could cook. I have a little biomass stove, so I could cook with twigs and leaves if I had to. I mean, growing up, this is how we lived. It wasn't like a choice. This is how we had to live. They didn't have like generators like you do now. So if our big house went out, we had a coal stove. You know, my mom could cook on it. That's what heated the house. We had a pond where we could fish. We grew all of our own food. And stored it and collected it. So again, what I have is generational knowledge, which is really important to have. There's only so much book learning you can do. You have to physically be out and go out and do it. I always laugh.
Figure it out.
I always laugh at these off-grid shows where what is it, the Rainies with the Homestead Rescue? Why did you prepare before you go out there? Why didn't you go camping for 3 weeks, or why didn't you just live in something? Because it is super hard. I mean, sometimes I can't even watch it. I get so mad at these people. I'm like, starved to death. I watch and I'm like, you have a whole field of food and you're starving. You don't even know the plants in your yard that are edible. And yet you talk about, I'm starving.
Go eat it.
They go with no source of water. I saw one where the guy had to go into town every week and pick up 500 gallons of water, or how much. Why would you, basic question, why would you move anywhere that you don't have access to water?
You need water. You have to drink water.
Of all things.
It's the rules of threes, my father told me. 3 days without water, you're probably going to die. 3 weeks without food, you're probably going to die, right? So always remember the rule of three. So I have plenty of water here. I have, again, drinking water that I keep here that I wouldn't have to worry if I couldn't get to my well. And I have the rainwater collection. I know, Clay, you had asked me about water in Tennessee, and I had sent that to you because I have friends that live there.
Right.
And I found it shocking that you don't own your water in Tennessee. So the state of Tennessee owns all of your water. You have to get approval for that water. And so if you're collecting rainwater and it affects the downstream flow, you might not be able to do it. So that's where you have to be careful. You cannot affect the people down the river from you.
Right.
As far as collecting the water. And all of them said, they just use the same well filtration. And I just put like the best filtration system in my house, because a lot of the water now is contaminated. Even city water, they're recycling it. And, I read that there's no way to get all of the opioids or all of the drugs out of the water when they're recycling it. Their filters can't handle it. I have a different problem here in that I have agricultural runoff in my wells.
Have you ever heard of the I'm sure you have, the Berkey?
I have a Berkey in my tiny house. Yeah.
Do you? Okay. We were actually looking into those recently.
I liked it. I have, because now I did have a pure. That's what, and every state is different. Mine had a pure. It's called P with the U with the 2 dots and R was what they recommended here for our water. So I was using like the pure, but now that I got the whole house system, I don't need to use that. But on the farm, my sister's water, we did the Berkey on it just in case.
Yeah. My concern was having a system like I use a little, for example, in the kitchen, a Brita water filter thing, and you've got the little filters, but you have to replace them every so often, every few months. And so particularly with a larger system, I wanted something where it didn't have a frequent filter change in case there was some extended problem. So, the Berkey, I was sitting there going, how often do you have to change the filter? So I was looking at it. It was like every 5 years. And I'm like,
It depends. I mean, how
okay.
much are you using the Berkey? I mean, are you using the big one and you're using the whole thing every day?
Yeah, it was like the 2.5 gallon one for a family of 4.
Yeah, I bought the family of 4 one too, and it was just me. So my filters, I checked it, and my filters, yeah, they told me can last 10 years.
Yeah.
On that. I'm not using that much. When I was in the tiny house, I would use it for a couple cups or maybe some cooking for a little bit. Here, yeah, my system gets serviced once a year, but I got the best. It's got a computer on it, and it recalibrates. So if it needs to recalibrate, you'll hear it recalibrating. And then it'll flush the system. So I always have the best. He told me I have better than bottled water filtration system here.
Nice.
Good.
Yes, in Brentwood, TVA owns it, I think. I don't know who TVA,
Tennessee Valley Authority. They own the dams, the rivers. They're the what was Roosevelt's big public works program in the Great Depression? Can't think of the name of it.
No, not was it the New Deal?
The New Deal, all right.
Yeah, it was one of the programs under the New Deal, and so they basically took all the rights in a lot of river areas and then built dams. Moved people out, whatever, built dams and the electrical grid, and supplying electricity to a lot of rural areas that never had electricity before. So they pretty much
Big well.
Yeah. I mean, you can normally tap rainwater off your roof, dig a well, whatever. It's just the restrictions are if you capture enough water to where it hurts downstream and other people rely on that downstream effects, there's some issues.
Correct.
You can't hurt somebody else's access.
Basically.
It's like you have a creek and you want to move it.
Mm-hmm.
Water rights were huge out west, and some people would want to divert a creek to where it would nourish more of their lands, but it would cut off another farmer's access to water.
Fair enough.
And so there were, a few feuds and fights and all over that. So that's really, I think, the essence of it.
Yeah. The one thing about Tennessee is the deed restrictions. I was looking, I found out the deeded restriction. So it's really easy to put a restriction on a deed down there. It's like $25. So a lot of these properties, my friends that were the tiny home people, when they were looking, I mean, it's outrageous. I can't even say. It would say you can't sell to the N word, the N people, if you know what I mean. It's still on the restrictions. Or I was looking and I found a house I like, and it said I couldn't change the paint color. I couldn't change the landscaping. I couldn't put a garage in. I mean, this woman bought it and put all these deeded restrictions because she wanted to back end an HOA. And they said it's really easy to put them on, but it's hard to get them off. So when you're looking, make sure you get a lawyer. That's what they told me. Get a lawyer and really look at these deed restrictions. Because again, I'm going to buy land. I couldn't have moved my tiny house as my office there. I couldn't have put a garden in because I had to keep what exactly she had. I couldn't paint the house whatever I want. And they will stay and they can take you to court for it. So a lot of the land in Tennessee has that. So great place to retire. I know people that retire, a lot of people that retired there, but that is something you're going to have to look for when you're moving to Eastern Tennessee. I ran into that a lot where I was like, okay, what's the restriction? Yeah, that's not going to match what I want. So move on.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I didn't either until till the first one hit. And then we went and Martha was with me. We went and we talked to our friends that live down there, and they're like, oh yeah, it took us a year to find the property because this one had this restriction and this one had this and this one had that. And it's crazy.
That is crazy. Crazy.
Speaking of crazy, hey dogs.
John, what are you doing? He's going nuts. You have your ball now? Do you want to come here? Come here. Say hi.
Chuck wants to be on the show. There he is with his ball.
Yeah. I don't know where Kitty went. Kitty was here for a while, sitting next to our cat, Mr. Caroline.
Now Tallulah wants to come up. Oh, stay around.
Questions, crew?
Yeah, anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, Martha put, that power outage thing is annoying. So I was traveling on business, so I had her here staying with my cat. And I said to her, okay, Martha, like here's all the stuff, because I'm telling you, no, I'll be fine. What happens the first day I'm gone? She texts me. I was like, calm down. There's the solar. You should have listened when you were here.
We all think we know everything until it's like, wait a minute. I didn't plan on this. I should have paid attention when I was supposed to.
Well, it's, usually I'm here, so I can, I can deal with it when I'm here. But she was here by herself with the cat, so she was working. Of course, it went out. And I'm like, okay, but the internet's okay, So the internet's on a battery backup. And now, like I said, now the Comcast paid me for 3 months to have the internet. We got that all fixed now. So, awesome. Which I find strange. Why would the internet stay on and the electric go out all the time?
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but
they go on the same line. So when you're rural, they go on the same line. So the power company, and I'll call Comcast, they're like, yeah, the power's not out.
Brentwood,
Jane, has been lovely to meet you, aka see your face and hear your voice.
Thank you.
And you've gotten a few others. I loved this. Fun and educational. This is awesome. Thanks, Jane. This has been awesome.
It has.
And Clay took a ton of notes. I know you're going to send me the notes, and we will, if you want
just email me.
Yeah. If you want them, you can either send.
I'll email all my notes. I'll email you my notes, and then
just email me at moffatonmoney@gmail.com or DM me at Twitter. I'm talking about to people viewing it. If you want, see the notes or a copy.
Yeah, I'll send you all my notes. Like I said, it has all the links in it. If you think of some later, just put them down in the comments. I'll go back and check them as well. Thank you, Sky.
Thank you, Jane. And Amazon thanks you for the orders.
Look, don't get me wound up about Amazon. Because of the company I work. Well, if you ever want to, there's a thing about the slavery, and I was just reading about that, and doing these cheap products and buying them, that human slavery is a real thing. Yeah. I did all this stuff for solar panels and stuff until I realized that that children in Africa are being forced to mine the cobalt for that, and it's toxic. The windmills are toxic. I saw a YouTube, it was Heretics, just did a thing about human trafficking and human slavery. About all of us have 40 slaves on anything that we buy. So yeah, I'm trying to cut back on Amazon. I know that it's convenient to get a lot of this stuff, but when you start finding this stuff out, it weighs on my soul that with human slavery and trafficking in this day and age, it still continues to go on. Woo, sorry, I just had a bug fly in here.
That was a bird.
It is huge. It's a huge bug. I think I got the door open. Sorry, I don't have to put my oil on. It's a mosquito flying around here. Is
it a mosquito or a mosquito eater?
It's a mosquito. It's that big. I have the door open.
Isn't it?
Yeah, mosquito hawk.
They eat mosquitoes. No?
I have the door open because the cat likes to go in and out. So because I have all the lights on here, I think the mosquito flew in right at me. I'm surprised.
Our cat Mahoney keeps asking for a revolving door for Christmas, and she's annually disappointed. So she can just kind of come and go when she wants to all the time. Yeah,
that's
not
him.
Gonna happen. Yeah,
that's him. He's an indoor outdoor cat. So he he doesn't need a litter box, which is great because he scratches like a dog and he goes out and does his business and then he comes in. So he came out like that. I am so lucky to have like a cat that thinks he's a dog.
Yeah, we had the same thing, and she'll walk with us around the neighborhood with the dogs. She follows us.
Mm-hmm.
She's a mess.
Is that
Well, Jane, thank you so much.
really
for being
enjoyed
here.
this.
I did
Appreciate
too.
your time and your efforts. Really outstanding
Thank you.
job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Bye,
and guys,
everybody.
I know Brentwood wants all the notes. I'm sure Melissa and Sky probably do too. So we will get them to you. And if we don't automatically know who you are, what we will just send us a message on either comment or send a message to on X at Moffat on Money, and we will get them to you.
Great. And is that any other questions of the replay crew? Put them down in the comments. Be happy to
Absolutely.
answer what I can.
Absolutely. She'll be monitoring it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you all.
Thank you, Jane. Love you guys.
Appreciate it, Jane.
Bye.
For all of y'all watching tonight, we appreciate it. If you will, do all the YouTubey things, hit the like, subscribe, love, spread the quan, mention us in your will, whatever. Hope y'all have a great week ahead. We look forward to seeing you Saturday night, same time, same place. And if you have any other questions or suggestions for topics,
Let us know.
let us know. Blessings to you all. Y'all
Good night.
have a great night.
Bye.